Hi Iseabail, this is the feedback for the mock exam paper 2 that you've done recently. So if we look at question 1 first, you've got all 4 questions right, so that's a good 4 marks in the bag ready. Okay, so moving on to question 2, you started off well. You've given us a good description, explanation about the relationship between Eddie and his father, and you've given us a couple of quotes to back that up. Then you've gone on to talk about Henry. You said that he talks to his father in a polite and respectful way. You've given us a quote there. You've then gone on to say that there's a different status and distance between them, as Henry's father is suspicious of his motives for writing the letter. And then you've gone on to say that it isn't just an emotional distance between Henry and his father, there's geographical distance as well. And then finally, whereas Eddie is emotionally close and lives at home like a typical modern teenager, whereas Henry has not been home for 2 years. Unfortunately, this last bit here, you've not given any quotes to back up your points, so that will lose marks in the proper exam. So you must make sure that you use quotes for every point that you make. So if we look at the mark scheme for level 3 for this question, it says shows clear synthesis and interpretation of both texts. I think you've done that. Makes clear inferences from both texts. Selects clear references, textual detail relevant to the focus of the question. Fortunately, that bit's not quite been completed fully, and the statements show clear differences between the text. So you've done 2 out of the 3 bullet points. So we have to drop down to the level 2. Which says select some appropriate references, textual detail from one or both texts. Well, you have selected some texts or quotes from both texts, so I think it's got to be 4 out of the possible 8 marks for this question. Had you included some more quotes here regarding the comments you've made about Henry, then it would definitely have been up in the level 3 band. So that's a shame, but at least you'll know for next time. If we move on to question 3 now, where you've been asked to analyse the way Henry uses language to try to influence his father. And I must say you've done much better on this question, Iseabail, which is more what I would expect from you, to be quite honest. I like this where you've picked up on the repetition of my dear father to reinforce that his father is dear to him. And it is an emotional tool. It's a kind of emotional blackmail, really, isn't it? The way he addresses his father is direct and suggests familiarity. You were right, yes, excellent. The formality. You've also picked up on the way that the childlike words contrast with the complex vocabulary and phrases, creating the formal tone. And you've even picked up on this, the use of the dear reinforces the connection between him and his dad, but it's probably a deliberate ploy to appeal to his father. So I really like what you've done with this question. So if we move on to the mark scheme, I'm going to go straight to level 4, which says shows detailed and perceptive understanding of language. So analyses the effect of the writer's choice of language, and you've done that. Selects a judicious range of textual detail. Well, again, you have included your quotes this time. And makes sophisticated and accurate use of subject terminology. You've used various examples of terminology from emotive language, repetition, direct address. The only thing I would possibly add was you could have used the simile where he compares themselves to bears, as that were more like bears than Christians, which would have given you another example of terminology. But I think this is a really good answer, and I've awarded it 11 out of the possible 12 marks, so well done. If we move on to question 4, where you've been asked to refer to the whole of source A together with source B, the father's letter to the family friend. So this was the second part of source B, and you've been asked to compare how the 2 writers convey their different attitudes to parenting and education. So you've got off to a very good start. When you see he conveys his attitude to parenting with warmth, love and humour. His article is full of humour, so this is method, puts it to good effect to describe his attitudes, and here you've got your quote, and you've explained the quote. And then you've gone on to say he refers to his own education with self-depreciating humour, so this is the method again, and here's your quote. And you've finished up with Jay saying he's proud of his son's achievement and pleased that his son feels comfortable with him, is able to tease him and seems to be a well-adjusted teenager. So that's a good analysis of how Jay presents his attitudes to education and parenting. And then you've gone on to talk about Henry. You've used the words in direct contrast, which is a good opener for this part of it. And you said he's much more formal and distant, both emotionally and geographically. Now, unfortunately, this bit here is all taken from the letter that Henry has written to his dad, which isn't relevant because it's asked you to refer to the letter that Henry's father has sent to the family friend. So you've gone on to do it here, but you didn't. This is not relevant to the actual question. So you've said that he seems more concerned about the education, as he's found several words misspelt, than how his son feels. The quote would have been useful here. And you've gone on and said he does care about his son's welfare, but seems more concerned about his other son, George, who seems to favour over Henry. Again, the quote would have been useful there. And you would have needed to give a little bit more information in place of this here. You could have added that Henry's dad disapproves of the schooling system, the education system, because he actually says, I do not approve of the education system, for they do not appear to have improved, and gone on and commented on the fact that he's seen the spelling mistakes. So if we look at the mark scheme for this question, and level 3 says compares ideas and perspectives in a clear and relevant way. Well, I think you've done that, and you have explained clearly how the writer's methods are used. Unfortunately, this again is the bit that's missing here. Selects relevant details to support from both texts, because whilst you've used quite a few in the J text, and you've used some here in the Henry's letter, in this bit here you've not used any quotes from the letter that Henry's dad has sent to their family friend. And then the last one shows a clear understanding of the different ideas and perspectives in both texts. So again, you've met 3 out of the 4 criteria. So unfortunately, I think we have to go and look at the level 2 because select some appropriate textual detail references, not always supporting from one or both texts. So I think we can say we've met all of the level 2 criteria. But not enough quotes in for the second text to get us up into that level 3, which again is a shame. So it's 8 out of the possible 16 marks for this question. This gives you an overall score for questions 1 to 4 of 27 out of 40, which at this stage in the course, considering we've still got 5 months to go before the final exams, is a good score. It's definitely the equivalent of a C grade. And I would say it's to the higher end of the C grade as well. So keep up the good work. We know you just needed some few quotes in questions 2 and 4 to get that score up where it should be, and where I think you're capable of, as seen by question 2, where you've given a really great answer. So keep up the good work. I know you do your homework, and I know that you're planning on coming to some of the booster sessions, although I'm not sure that you really need to come, but you're more than welcome anyway. So well done.